Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Credits and Chords. I am your host, Practical, joined by the fellas.
Danny boy.
Rex.
Yo, it's Brandon, and I'm in a mood.
Okay, well
Shocker.
I guess that's a good topic to be in the mood for, because today we're talking Roman Polanski. He is a Polish director and rapist, unfortunately. A rapist of minors, which is just awful as fuck. I mean, all rape is awful, but this guy's a real piece of work. So as a disclaimer, the crew here at Beyond the Credits and Chords in no way supports or endorses any of this criminal activity from this motherfucker. We're just talking about his cinema and
His art.
We don't even
try and separate the art from the artist.
Yeah, we're going to do our best with that, but we're still going to be saying fuck him several times during the course of this episode.
I mean, if you saw every one of my reviews for any of these movies, you saw that I started them with fuck Roman Polanski.
I did see that.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
It reminded me of my own ritual that I do for Kurt Russell movies, where I end every review with Kurt Russell is the baddest motherfucker on the planet.
I mean, that's preferable, honestly.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that one.
But today, aside from his bullshit, we're going to be talking Rosemary's Baby, Chinatown, The Tenant, The Pianist, and Carnage. They're just 5 selections. So let's get into Roman Polanski, fellas. I mean, I'm not going to be... Most of the time we say, a lot of nice things about the people we're talking about, but I don't feel too inclined to go too deep into this fuck's work. I will say, he is a pretty pivotal part of history. Like, before we hit record, Rex had asked, don't they mention him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? And it's like,
he's
well,
main character. Yeah,
he was married.
Not a main character.
Yeah, he was married to Sharon Tate. Infamously, she was murdered by the Manson family. So he's been in the mix for a long time. So,
and by the way, which I will give the smallest amount of grace, and that event potentially could have had some psychological effects that led him down a darker path. Still no fucking excuse, but life is life and shit happens, and you do things differently after a horrible event like that. So
absolutely, that's a valid point.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly like you said. Not that we want to excuse any of his behavior, but that could potentially be a big deal. All right, tell us about some of his themes and some of his reoccurring, techniques and things like that. Danny boy.
First things first, this guy's a piece of shit. Hell
yeah.
Now that I got that out of the way. No, what I noticed, I guess I enjoyed a lot of these movies, one of them being overrated, but I'll get to that. At least for me, sorry. But overall, I just felt like, I see these reoccurring things with some of these guys that we watch. You're kind of watching either a troubled person or a fucked up person, or someone trying to seek some form of redemption, going through the shit, basically. Rosemary's Baby, it's like I felt for her the entire time. Like, I wanted everything to go right for her, but it just felt like she was so naive and so stupid that she kind of forgot a lot of what was happening around her. And I wouldn't say that that's a recurring theme in all of the movies, but I feel like with our protagonists in every one of these movies, there's something else going on that's a little bit, misleading, so to speak. I mean, Carnage, I had no idea what that movie was going to be about, and by the end of it, I felt super stressed out, just super high anxiety. It just made me feel, uneasy, I guess you could say. So I don't know if those are all kind of very similar in a sense, but I got that sense of these films that we watched. They were somewhat similar to that, at least to me. But yeah, it's hard to really focus on their art and really appreciate what you're watching when you have that pre-notion of who they already are, and you're trying to see past that. But there was little things that happened in some of those movies that were kind of questionable. I mean, The Tenant especially, there was so much shit in that movie that was super uncomfortable and just super rapey vibes. And of course, the incident with the young child happened a year after. So, but yeah, different themes, I guess, to each film, but kind of a same direction, at least for me. So cool.
Rex?
Yeah, I agree with Danny. Fuck this dude. He's a pedophile. Dude needs to be tried, executed, whole thing. But the movies were okay this round. I wasn't as into too much. I've noticed he didn't write a lot of these movies that we watched. Don't know if he writes most of his movies, and these 5 just happen to be ones he didn't. But I see that out of the 5 we have, he only wrote the first one. But outside of that,
what made you pick him? I know he's your pick, and you're kind of like on this journey of like directors, because you've said it yourself that you've never really like paid attention to that. So I am curious as to what was your reasoning for picking him? Just you've heard his name a lot, and
yeah, pretty much. I pulled him out of my ass, and I was like, "Who don't I know?" And I'm thinking of like, what directors do I even know their names to? And so I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm like, I know these guys, but I was like, who don't I actually know anything of? And I was like, I know a guy named Roman Polanski. He was in fucking, in that movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I was like, we'll pick him. And then I picked him, and I realized that he was a pedo because I looked him up real quick, and I saw, allegations, and then what happened Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was, true, but not true.
It was well before the pedo stuff.
But I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, it's already in there." But I've heard him around a lot, so yeah, it was kind of a pull out of my ass one.
Yeah.
So I have no idea. Actually, none of these movies I've seen. I've heard of Rosemary's Baby, but I couldn't tell you who directed it till we did this. Yeah, so just a random one. Sucks that the random one is a pedo, piece of shit. Like really, like damn it,
I got horrible.
Damn it, yeah, like that would be the. I mean, probably most of them are, but the ones we know, damn it. But his movies are all right. I didn't enjoy this run too much, and I felt like a lot of. I mean, I guess theme wise, one of the movies that I really need to rewatch is Chinatown. I just had a bad time watching it. Just a lot of people going on and things like people were over and I was trying to watch it. So I was getting distracted a bunch and it was just a bad time.
Yeah, that's my favorite one of these.
I didn't know Jack Nicholson was in it. But anyways, I didn't notice too much. I wasn't too impressed with all this. The Pianist was a good movie, but it was one I was kind of catching myself just kind of nodding to sometimes. And I felt
Danny
like it was
and I were
really
regrettably
long.
drinking while we watched that movie.
That's such a bad idea. Such a bad idea,
hey,
dude. He said that,
nodding
man.
off every now and again. So
hey, I'd rather nod off during parts of that movie than be drunk and see it, dude. That's like brings an emotion out.
Movies pretty vividly for being a couple weeks
not
ago.
For forgetting. I mean, like for like emotionally just seeing that stuff. Like,
well, every time there was a dead body laying in the street, Danny and I, fuck.
Yeah, it was aggressive, and then it just got to be the point where it was just like a recurring theme in the movie, and it just, yeah,
that one just seemed a little too long too. Like he kept escaping this, holding up for a second, then on to the next, and it kind of went a little too long till he met the German. But anyways, I don't know. I wasn't too impressed overall with all this work. I do like Carnage a lot. That movie was really good. The setting is good. You guys told me it was based off a play, which is again super cool. I thought the whole movie, the dialogue and everything was absolutely fantastic, very engaging and anxiety ridden for sure. But yeah, I wasn't too impressed with this guy outside of him being a pedo. Just based on his work alone, just not impressed.
Yeah, for me, I think he's okay. I think he's an actor's director. Like he really gets good performances out of all of his actors that he works with. I'm not as impressed with his visual style typically, except for The Pianist and Chinatown, which are my two favorites of these. But yeah, I mean, I think he's he gets really good performances out of his actors. He's able to set up shots in a way where it evokes those emotions. But his visual style still kind of lacks for me a little bit. But I think he's decent. Yeah, he's definitely not on the top end of directors that we've covered since I've been a part of the show. So, but still a very important figure in Hollywood, for better or worse. Obviously, one of my favorite directors is very influenced by him. Quentin Tarantino has even gone so far as to defend him, which is disgusting.
Right.
But that's neither here nor there. He's had a long-standing impact on the industry, and so much so that they give him a standing ovation when he wins Academy Awards, well after the convictions. But yeah, tainted. He ruined his own legacy. Is what I'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, we talked about that in the Scumbags episode. Polanski fits that category pretty well.
Absolutely, dude.
And it sucks because, I grew up liking some of this dude's movies, like, and enjoying some of his work. And then as I got older and was able to kind of look more into what he was being charged with, or, getting more in depth with the details, you just learn that he's a piece of shit. So, and the reason that I kind of said America on the one sheet is because he,
America.
he was able to find out that the judge was going to reject his plea bargain. And that is not that's what makes me say America, because only in a system as fucked as ours would he find a loophole to get himself the fuck out of Dodge, and it's like, and then for us to be so willing to be like, yeah, let's just keep, letting this dude pump out movies and appreciate him at the Guild, and the standing ovation thing. And it's just like, you'll still hear him brought up in conversations about directors too. And it's like, imagine what you could have been had you not been such a fucking scumbag, you piece of shit. Like,
Yeah. Well, there's this great movie on the Criterion Collection called Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and one of the women in that movie has, I think it's her only movie, and she has stated that she does not want to work in movies in Hollywood anymore because there are too many pedos in Hollywood. And I have kind of a feeling,
And so let's just move on to, like I said, style, which we kind of touched on a little bit. But if you guys have any thoughts about, what you think about his overall style that we haven't mentioned already, Danny boy.
I mean, you could always say the whole handheld thing. I mean, I didn't really feel like there was a lot of that in this. There might have been some shaky camera from here or there to, like Rosemary's Baby and stuff when she was kind of getting thrown through the house or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it seemed gritty and grimy, but I guess that's like 70s filmmaking for you, It's not going to be like HD and great looking. So, besides that, and him being in a few of these movies, like wasn't expecting his character in fucking Chinatown getting that knife cut on Jack Nicholson, but I was not ready for that, because never seeing that movie, I had always seen pictures from it, and I'm like, how does he get his nose cut? And then seeing that scene and having it being him doing it, I'm like, oh, you got to be shitting me, dude! Like that. That really grinded my gears. But so yeah, him being in that role was kind of weird, and then obviously him being like the main character in The Tenet was a little bit infuriating, because he's not a great actor. He's not a great actor. But yeah, I mean, other than that, nothing really that like stands out to me, that maybe I'm not seeing it, that puts him on the stratosphere. I think I agree with what Brandon was saying earlier about, he just brings the best out in certain actors. And I think that's why, some of the movies he does are so good. I mean, Adrian Brody winning an Oscar for that movie, pretty much proves that point. So yeah, that's my extra thoughts, extra credit.
Excuse me, he's a piece of shit. But
Hell
stylistic wise, I don't know. I had trouble seeing any. I wasn't too into many of these. They were like, some of them were good, but I feel like they were very different each movie. Like Pianist is obviously visually stunning.
maybe
in
his most
respect.
visually stunning, you know.
Yeah, and in respect to what's going on, it was just, you know, a visually stunning movie, even though, like I said, I might have been like kind of nodding off at certain parts, but either way, beautiful piano song at the end. Love it. But outside of that, I didn't really feel like there was a whole bunch of connection between his movies, like Rosemary's Baby to The Tenant. I don't know. Outside of setting, I guess I don't feel too much of a stylistic connection to either one of those. And with Carnage, it's absolutely, I don't know. Again, pretty far off. Like dialogue wise, he's great, I guess, but nothing in like The Tenant or Rosemary dialogue wise really blew me away. So I really got nothing to say on it.
Yeah, I think he's very much like a point and shoot kind of director. You know, he's not. He doesn't stand out with lighting. He doesn't. Maybe the way his shots are framed, I can give him credit there because again, he really puts the actors in focus. And to me, his most stylistic movie is The Pianist, because some of those scenes of combat are the way they're shot. It's always from Itzhak's point of view from like an apartment. He's always looking down on the battle in the streets, and every time that movie is like really fucking good in that regard. The way that's shot, like I really liked that because you really are put in his shoes in that movie, and it's intense, and I think that is his most stylistic movie. But other than that, yeah, it's kind of just like get the actors in frame. Let's get the best performance we can out of these people that I'm using, and we'll go from there. And obviously, The Tenant has one of my favorite actresses ever in it, Isabella Johnny. And I just think she's kind of wasted in that movie, though. She's not in it enough. She's way too fine to not be in it more.
Yeah, I basically agree. There's nothing he does that's crazy, you know, amazing to where you're like, I'm going to keep talking about this. I mean, other, like you said, some framing shots or some of the wide angle shots where he'll capture something violent or kind of hectic and he leaves the camera fixed. Sometimes that can be really useful and he does that. But beyond that, like, it's like nothing super special. I would agree. I would argue that some of his reoccurring themes, though, are like psychological thriller type things because Tenet and Rosemary's Baby are both something where the atmosphere plays a huge part in like what's going on, and it's meant to help build the overall feeling of dread. And I think he does that kind of well, actually. And yeah, Carnage is a fucking 180 from everything else you've seen him do, and so is The Pianist. I mean, I think his 70s and 80s films are a lot different than his later movies. I think, you know, and that probably kind of plays into his decisions for living elsewhere too. You know, he might be influenced.
He's probably
for
trying to get people
different
to
things and
feel
wanna do other
sorry
things
for him.
and-
You know, you know, like,
Yeah.
hey,
Well,
I'm really sorry about what I did to that
I'm so
poor young
sorry,
girl.
I ran.
Look at my movies are, you know, not as bad. Whatever. Yeah, fuck that guy. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You like my movie?
There are the fucked up part is there are people on both sides of the camp. There are still actors and actresses that, you know, still would love to be in a Polanski film. Like you'll hear them interviewed sometimes, like, oh,
Yeah, he's
I would-
iconic
you
in
know,
Hollywood.
yeah. So it's a shame, like I said, that he had to do what he did because I'm sure it's interesting in contrast because if he hadn't done any of that shit, we'd probably be saying completely different shit about his movies. But we're
But yeah,
influenced and now biased against him because of that shit. And I think that speaks kind of loudly to the whole separate art from the artist
It's
thing
hard
that
to
we were
do.
talking
It's
about.
it's
It's really
not
hard
impossible.
to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, and I was happy that he was chosen for that reason. And let me explain why. Because when we first started this podcast, or when everything first started, I was telling Rex, like, I don't really want to talk about the shit that they did, but actually I think it's better that we do because they shouldn't get away with it. And if any of us can have a voice and talk shit, it might be, you know, beneficial to acknowledge, like, yeah, you could have been better, but you fucked everything up. And here we are as potential fans that would have loved you a lot more, you know, if you weren't such a spineless douchebag piece of shit cocksucker. And that's what Roman Polanski is, unfortunately. So I can't, and I gave some of his movies 5 stars, but I can't even really go into those reviews and and express as much joy towards them as I normally would because of that shit. And that includes Rosemary's Baby, which is a favorite of mine. But yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
No, I mean I agree. I gave a couple 5 stars too, but it's because they are genuinely 5-star movies. There's no, to me anyway, Chinatown and The Pianist. Like I think those are both excellent movies, and there's no doubt about it. But they always are going to have that stain, as it were.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's kind of shitty. Especially shitty for the 13-year-old girl that he decided to pull that shit on. So, all right, well, let's start getting into his movies. Like I said, we all sound kind of somber, but you can't come into this motherfucker.
Yeah, dude, you just shot my dog.
So tough.
You just shot my dog.
That said, though, we'll kick it off with Rosemary's Baby, released in 1968. The only movie on the list written by Roman Polanski, and the cinematography is by William A. Fraker. This is one of those ones that, like The Exorcist for the Friedkin list, you may or may not have decided to throw it in. I'm kind of glad you threw it in because looking at his movie list, I don't think there was really a lot of other great movies on that list. A couple other ones, but nothing crazy. So I think that's an appropriate selection. So Danny Boy,
We
tell
could
me
have got
about
Night Gated, but
I
I
almost picked that one, but I'd
yeah.
seen it. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't really want to retrek over something I've seen. I was kind of shocked though when I did see that though. It's like, what the?
That's Johnny
Hell
Depp.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Movies, whatever.
it's a weird one.
It is wild.
Speaking of whatever, yeah, the hype on this, the hype on this movie, man. Like, you hear so many people talk about it and how it's a horror classic and all that stuff. For me, being I think this is the second time I've seen this movie. I feel like I'd seen it before, but I just don't remember it. It didn't really scare me that much. Now, let me explain. I understand back in the day, this was probably absolutely terrifying to people, and that I can't obviously take that away from them. But for me, as an avid movie watcher, especially someone that enjoys horror as much as I do, I was kind of let down with the whole horror part of it. It was more of like a psychological thriller to me. Not that that's a bad thing, but like I didn't feel scared, I guess you could say. Because when I think of scary movies, I want to say Exorcist, because that movie is scary, Whereas this one was more a psychological thriller. And Homegirl was fantastic. Faye Dunaway, right?
Mia Farrow.
Mia
Farrow.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I said Faye Dunaway.
Faye Dunaway.
Mia Farrow, but
'cause she's in Chinatown.
there we
Faye
go.
Dunaway is great too. So
There we
it's
go.
okay.
Yes. They are both great, but no, she obviously killed it. She was my favorite part of this movie, her and the old lady. Even though the old lady was a crazy bitch at the end, but I just
This is crazy bitch the whole movie.
Yeah,
Fuck
yeah,
that
yeah,
lady.
just
psycho.
If I had
She
a neighbor
pissed
like
me
that,
off.
if
and
I
I
had
wanna-
a neighbor
I
like
liked
that,
her. Yeah, I liked her just like
No.
nurturing nature and like here's the spiked shakes. Like here you go. Just
nurturing
always go over-
nature
yeah.
as she's helping you birth a demon.
So
Like her
like,
nurturing nature.
They don't
If I can
want
just
you to
say-
at the
Oh my
beginning,
God.
and then yeah.
if I can just say one thing before everybody goes on, I will say this, and it's not really defense for us as a newer moviegoers and watchers, but at the time The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby were made, people in America and the world at large were a lot more religious, especially
They're
Christianity. Yeah, so those movies are targeted more towards a base that no longer is as big or as dominant as it used to be. So us coming, none of the four of us are religious like those people were back in the day, So to try to get a response like that from us is just not going to happen, and that's why I think the hype is what it is for the time, where it's not going to have that effect on us.
I get
Because,
that.
we don't
I
believe in that
understand
shit,
what you're
you know?
saying. I completely do.
Yeah.
But for me, I just what there was really no scary aspect of it for me. I understand what you're saying though. I get that. But anyways,
Yeah, and that's fine. And like I said, I was kind of not defending the four of us in general because we're all going to feel different about it anyway.
sure.
So it's like, like I just think it's different versus the time periods, the way things are received.
But
yeah.
kind of staying with the talking back, more on the theme of staying in that one area, it kind of reminded me of Mother, especially after we just recently watched that in the sense that I
I
felt
was
like she
thinking the
was
same
trapped
thing.
in that apartment, like she would go out and about sometimes, and stuff like that, but like she was constantly running into people like that were part of obviously the cult or whatever in the movie, and like you kind of felt like she could never escape, and she was obviously chosen to be this, carrier of the demon, whatever. But yeah, it was okay. I didn't hate the movie, but I just thought it was overrated as far as the scare factor for me. So yeah, it was all right.
Danny and I watched these because he was down here when we watched all 5 of these in like a night.
We did.
Jesus.
Getting
Damn,
drunk
back
as
to back.
skunk, dude.
Well, we went to Las
That's a lot of
Vegas
fucking
for
shit in a row.
WrestleMania, and we didn't know we were gonna have any time, so we crushed those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Good time.
sounds like it. I like this movie. This movie is all right. I've heard about this movie, but not in any context. I didn't know it was a horror movie, thriller, whatever it is, and I, as usual, go into these movies blind as a bat. But yeah, no, like Danny, I got the feel of Mother in this movie,
Yeah.
and I knew Mia Farrow's the voice for The Last Unicorn, which is fucking awesome. I was watching this movie with my
Kill
girlfriend,
you.
and I kept telling
Man, you
her,
brother.
I was like, I know this voice. She's The Last Unicorn. Looked it up. Hell yeah, that movie's tight. Y'all can.
No, respect.
Movie's tight.
Yeah.
But no,
Sounds
this
lame.
movie's crazy. Like the whole time, like everybody's like, "You look terrible." She's like, "You lose a few pounds before you really gain the weight." Like,
No.
shut the hell up and go see a real doctor, dude. Like that was pissing me off. Her boy Hutch, he's the only real dude,
He
the
was the real
only
G.
one. He's a real G. They kill his ass, of course, because they're in a Hollywood cult. Like, like what's that dude, Alex Jones, be like, yeah, they go to the apartment with the baby, they get pregnant, then they, come out with this thing, it's like that's what this movie's like. Is like that
That was
shit.
pretty
So, thank you.
Little did he know that the demon she birthed was him.
Probably he's like, hey, man. Dr. Saperstein, that mother effort too, dude. The drinks, like you guys,
That
I don't
guy
know her
sucked.
names. What was the crazy old lady's name?
Oh man, it's gonna bug me now. Let me look.
Minnie. In
Minnie,
the
yeah.
movie, her name's Minnie. I just one good
I loved
clock.
her.
I
thought she
hated her
was cute.
so bad. No.
Oh man,
Dude,
I'm a sucker for old grandmas, I guess.
that's not the old grandma I'm a sucker for. That's the old grandma that you give a good like, come here, granny. Like, I hate you. She was all up in their grill.
You may
The husband
never
wasn't
work
as
at a
bad.
retirement home ever with those comments, young man.
No, I won't, because I'll be like, come here, grandma.
Now old people suck.
Dude, it's just like
Jeez.
that's
Yeah, but you still
someone.
can't abuse them.
That's like my home. If she's coming into my home like that, I will. I have the right to defend my home.
No,
This lady's
no.
scaring me.
You, let me just.
This lady's
you can't,
scaring me.
You can't sit here and chastise a man for raping a 13-year-old girl and then give me some fucking like excuse that you'll beat the elderly.
Beat the shit out of
Yeah.
old people.
What do you mean? I would argue that Roman Polanski should be stoned to death. Like public.
Oh, for
Well,
sure.
that's different.
Everybody gets a
if we're
piece.
if we're
But
talking about it.
I'm talking about this lady coming into your house, getting in your business, doesn't care what you think. Then we add on top of it that they're in a cult. Like, a solid one ain't that bad of an idea. And I wish somebody would have to her.
Oh,
But-
hell yeah.
But
Jeez.
I digress on that. Either way, the movie was a trip, and I did get a lot of sense of Mother in it, and her like entrapment in the house, and like it's like a weird Hollywood movie. Like, I knew her husband sold her out.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "This isn't a dream. This is real." As the Dark Lord is giving her the good old go.
Yeah.
The Dark Lord.
Anyways, this movie was cool. The ending kind of tripped me out. Like, I really did not expect her to be like, oh, like she's like, this is my baby. How cute. Like, with its hairy ass hand going like, yeah, I don't know. It was a trip. I liked it though.
Yeah, for me, I mean, this movie's okay. I like cult shit, demonic shit. I think it's always very interesting. But I feel wanting with this one. Like, I think there's a couple of cool scenes of the cult, but most of the movie is just them gaslighting her, and it kind of frustrates me in a way. It's like, God damn it. Like, you are just leading this lady on, and like, you're taking away all of her agency. You're taking away any like purpose she has, and you're just fucking feeding her lies and gaslighting her for 2 hours, and it made me mad.
I mean, how do you think cults are formed, bro?
No, for sure. But like, you know, she went out,
Jeez.
she got her Vidal Sassoon, man. Like,
I
she's
like
just trying
the
to.
short hair.
That was
I
a
like the
bad
short hair.
idea.
You
I
know, was
did
just giving her
not.
shit for it too. I'll fucking.
Look, I would never
Solid
say.
window.
I would
Eric's onto
never
something.
say. I would never say anything. Like if my girlfriend went and got it done, I would say you look great because her husband's a dick. But sometimes it just doesn't look good. Like there are girls who look great with short hair, and there are ones that don't. I'm sorry, she didn't. She is a very beautiful woman, but
I
when
loved
she
it.
cut her hair, it did make her look kind of like a little teenage boy, which is fine. It's what's in. That's how women always
It's
are. That's how
also
guys
very
are.
director.
That's how everybody is. You know, what's in can always look weird. Like the kids today, like the broccoli hair.
Dude, I want to
You know, so like,
smash a broccoli hair.
dude, that's what I mean. Like it's just the call of the times. But yeah, I thought it was a bad idea. No.
Yeah, I mean, to me, my favorite part is the ending where she finds the cult with the baby, and she kind of just capitulates to being, you know, I mean, it still is her baby at the end of the day, and she's like, well, maybe this ain't so bad, right? You know, there might be some perks to being the mother of the devil. So
Hell yeah.
let's get down and dirty. So I do like the ending. I just wish the movie had more behind the scenes cult stuff. I get that it's kind of from her perspective the entire time, but for me, I want to see more of the inner workings of the cult and stuff, and because that the scene is really good, where they're all like around and watching, but you don't really get much more of that. Like you get intimate scenes between her and her husband, and her and Minnie, and just being gaslit all fuck, but oh man, nothing, as someone who loves to gaslight, nothing drives me more crazy than being gaslit. And I'll pass that to you.
For me personally, so one of the reasons that I'm a huge fan of this movie is I saw it at a really young age. I think I was like 8 or 9, and it fucking freaked me out, dude.
Hell
Like
yeah.
I was young as shit. So same thing with The Exorcist. So that's why those movies kind of hold their scare factor for me. And even as an adult, the idea to me that a close knit community of people in one apartment building could be this fucking crazy cult right beneath me or and above me, and I have no idea, to me is freaky, because people are weird, and you sometimes don't know what's going on around you with that type of shit, and it's been proven time and time again in history. And
Well, and that was during a time where, you know, you're much more neighborly, I guess, you know, that sense of neighbor, like neighbors, and being in a neighborhood,
Like
or being
getting
in a
chased, delivered by
complex
Minnie.
together. Yeah, that
Yeah,
really doesn't
Minnie, Queen
exist
Minnie.
anymore, and it could be because of fucking movies like this.
exactly, because you never know, you never know who you're going to be in bed with, so to speak. And it's
Well,
just,
we as
it's
people are
trippy.
tribalistic as hell. So you get your neighborhood, and we're the best neighborhood. You bring anyone in, they got to start, following the neighborhood. HOAs are cults
Mhm.
that you pay into.
HOAs are fucking cults.
Those
Fuck
are-
those people.
Those are modern day
I work
cults.
with way too many HOAs, and god damn it.
Mm-hmm.
Mia Farrow, however you say her name, she's fantastic in that movie. I actually like her in a couple other movies too. I can't remember what they are right now. I was trying to remember doing Rosemary's Baby, got sidetracked and never went back to look it up. But I know I watched movies with her in it when I was younger because of this movie.
The Last Unicorn.
But yeah, I really like it, and a shout out to Bont because he showed me that band, All Them Witches, and then I recently found out they got the name of their
That's
band.
from this movie.
Yeah, that's from this movie.
Hell
That's
yeah.
tight. That's
She
tight.
pulls out that book, All of Them Witches, and I was like, no way, All Them Witches.
Say.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Screen bump. Fucking, but yeah, no, like, and I thought that was tight because again, that's something that Bont showed me. So for two things that we like that to mix was just tight to me. I was like, hell yeah, because I for one don't find this movie overrated. I enjoy it quite a bit. I can see why people do think it's overrated, just like The Exorcist, but not for me. I find it genuinely kind of freaky, and I like the way it's filmed, and it was my first exposure to Polanski, so. Before he exposed himself to a 13-year-old girl. So, so that's basically that for me.
That's also kind of an interesting bit of trivia, is because her child had a run-in with another well-known pedophile. Ronan Farrow was allegedly assaulted by Woody Allen. So that's
true. The cycle is vicious.
Fucking bullshit,
Yep.
All our heroes are scumbags.
Mm-hmm. Starting to look that way more and more. So moving on to Chinatown. Came out in 1974. Written by Robert Towne. Cinematography is John A. Alonzo. He's done a lot of other stuff too, but my dumbass forgot to write down what those things were. But I know his name from lots of shit, so you can kind of tell he's got a noir style and he's responsible for a bunch of that type of stuff. So all I can say before you guys give your thoughts is I know The Big Lebowski is influenced by the Big Sleep, but Chinatown was giving me mad Big Lebowski vibes plot wise. So anyway, take us away, Danny.
First things first, maybe you should do your research.
You gotta stop using that phrase. You're gonna trigger me, bro.
I know, I'm sorry.
That's that gaslighting he's doing.
That was a little bit of gaslighting, you bet.
That was. He hit that gas a little bit.
No, this was like one of the better movies, I think. Yeah, I agree with Brandon in this and Pianist being 5 stars because Jack Nicholson rules, dude. I love the neo-noir and just kind of, his demeanor throughout the entire film, regardless of him getting his nose cut off by fucking Roman Polanski. And then Faye Dunaway is in this movie, but yeah, no, she's great in this too. A lot of sexual tension between the two of them, even though he's kind of doing his thing, trying to figure out who's wasting water in California, which shocker, still happening to this day, which I thought was kind of ironic and funny. Not funny for the people of California, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I like the neo-noir of this movie. One of the better ones I've seen in a while, and I've watched a few recently, whether they're American or Japanese or French or whatever. I like that genre. I like that style, I guess you could say. So this movie definitely caught my attention with that vibe throughout it. And yeah, Jack Nicholson again, so badass. I wanted his car, dude. His car was sick. But yeah, I loved it. Loved this movie very much.
Hell yeah. How about you, Rex? I know things didn't work out for you very well.
No, I want to hear some. Well, you watched it in compromising circumstances.
Yeah, that's my own fault. I had time to watch it again, but I did pay $3.79 to watch it the first time, so also my bad. Nope, I was pretty stoked when it first started because it's Jack Nicholson, and I did not know he was in any of these movies we picked. So first off, that was tight. The beginning was all right. I'm kind of hazy through a lot of it. I know he gets hired by Faye Dunaway, posing as, if I'm correct, from what I remember and I figured out, she is not who she said she is, and she's actually the wife to Hollis. And she's because she breaks down in that car, and he's like, "Why are you crying? Why all this over your sister?"
Yeah.
And yeah, then it all comes out, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" So I got to rewatch this one. I saw part of the ending. I paid attention to some of the ending, or not the ending, but they find Hollis's body, and then he comes the one lady dies, and I like the scene where the guy's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Well, you called me." "Oh, well, come look at this." just a really weird scene. I don't understand what the hell was going on. They're like, "Is this your number?" And it's like 5 numbers. I don't know. I got to rewatch this one, but this one seems sweet from what I was able to pay attention to. But yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, for me, this is Roman Polanski's best movie. I think this is a noir like classic essential. If you are to name like 5 noir movies that people gotta see to get them into the genre, to me, this is one of those movies. This movie is one of those 5. I think Jack Nicholson is fantastic. Faye Dunaway is fantastic. The plotting is really good. I like the following of the plot threads for the case throughout. It always keeps me interested, and you know, it's not like an action heavy movie, but you know, Jack Nicholson is fucking cool as shit. You know, this is a smoking and drinking movie. Like, if you want to watch this movie, pour a glass of whiskey. Not a lot of people smoke cigarettes these days, but maybe light up a joint. You know, just like
How about a
casual
stogie,
cigar.
dude?
yeah, or a stove, bro. But
He's a
this
badass.
I can't say enough good things about this. I love the LA plot line, you know, the water and then the corruption. I love stories about LA Confidential is one of my favorite movies. And I just love that the seedy history of that city. I think it's so intriguing, and all the corruption and crime and double dealing and incest in this movie is all very, very interesting, and I think it is one of his better shot movies too. Just because there's more movement to this movie. You're following Jake around town, so it's not really like point and shoot type thing. Yeah, I love this movie. I think it's great.
Yeah, I agree with those things. Rex, you guys on those?
I really like that line he tells those cops to, because I pay attention to certain scenes that I was able to get in there, and there was that same scene, and he's like, "What are you insinuating?" He's like, "Nothing." He's like, "What happened to your nose? Your wife, she crossed her legs on my face a little too fast, if you get what I mean." And then they do the whole like get up in the face like this, and I was like,
fucking cool
yeah,
as shit.
I was like, that's so fucking funny. That's badass. Yeah, it was killer.
Yeah, Chinatown's really good, and the thing I'm the most thankful for that you chose him, besides the revelation that we should talk shit about these artists when they're douchebags, is Chinatown, because I actually kind of, for whatever reason, thought that movie wasn't very good, and I'd watched it like 15 years ago and just it didn't click with me. But upon this rewatch, man, I loved it. I actually love Jack Nicholson in it. Completely fucking makes me stoked, because I'm someone who loves Jack Nicholson no matter what. But now I've got a fucking detective movie that I actually like him in, and you know, as these fellas always say, that gets me pretty cut.
Pretty
Get you fully
cat.
loaded, bro.
It gets me fully loaded. Faye Dunaway is another favorite of mine. I love her in Bonnie and Clyde. She's just cool. By the way, John A. Alonzo, he's the cinematographer for another one of my favorite directors, Brian De Palma. He did Scarface. He frequently works with him. So, yeah, overall really good. And one thing I really appreciate about this movie is like the period piece specific movie sets and shit, and the dialogue being like old school noir. Really makes me like it even more. It pushes it over the top for me. It's like it's so sharply written, but it follows all of the typical noir beats, and I love it.
I love the following of the plot threads, and he always meets new and interesting people along the way, and violent people.
I will say I did catch Faye Dunaway's nude scene, and it was great.
I'm sure you did.
She got those hungries though.
I don't know if this is my favorite movie by Polanski, because I really do like Carnage and Rosemary's Baby, but I would definitely say this is tied for the top for sure if I had to. So, fuck yeah to Chinatown.
Damn, Bonds.
Got him.
Hell
This is what happens when you have a couple of brews.
All right, cool, hell yeah.
All right, well, we'll move on to The Tenant, the one that I'm the least excited to talk about. Came out in '76, written by Gerard Brock. and the cinematographer is Sven Nivkis. I don't know how to fuck. Hopefully that's right. If it's not, I'm sure he won't be around to correct me, so I don't give a fuck. Yeah, tell me about the Tenant, Rex, Danny, because I think you and I are probably on the closest to the same page with this one. I just don't know. But
Yeah, this movie bothered me from the get-go because, shocker, dipshit McGee is the main character. And he's a horrible
Terrible
actor.
idea.
He's just a
Terrible.
fucking horrible actor.
This is also a year before the incident this movie
Right.
came out.
And
he did this movie and drove him to that.
you know,
fuck Roman Polanski.
I wasn't having a really hard time following. I kind of was a little bit. My whole thought process was, he was kind of either becoming schizophrenic or that fucking, apartment he stayed in was fucking haunted or something. Because if I had the amount of roommates and landlords and neighbors and people just fucking knocking on my door all the time, bugging me like that, I'd be out of that fucking neighborhood immediately. And the fact that he kind of still lingers and hangs around there, like, I don't know, a part of me felt like, he was somewhat kind of like Rosemary's Baby, where he was like kind of trapped there. Like it didn't seem like he really wanted to get out of there, is what I'm trying to get at. And I really wish he would have, because I think that would have saved him from, dressing up like a woman and then jumping off of a balcony twice and just landing on the ground. Like, that was the most shocking part of the movie. I was laughing hysterically as well. But other than that, yeah, this was the weakest of the 5 movies that we watched by him, for sure. I didn't really, it didn't vibe with me. I don't know. It wasn't my favorite, that's for sure. God.
Agreed.
Yo, fuck Roman Polanski and his acting.
Mhm.
Bro, this movie for sure, if this was the year before, this is what drove him to do it. Because, dude, this is I don't know what gave him the idea to star in his own movie, but it didn't work out for me at all.
Yeah.
Just from the start, this dude, I didn't like him. I can't afford 5,000 francs. I can do 4. And dude, shut up. His friends were annoying too. The landlord, everybody, but I think they picked him purposely for that because he's already a weirdo. And I think they pick kind of weirdo people because, the landlord's always like, how careful I am picking my tenants.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, dude, I've met you like a week ago. How I don't know that.
Mhm.
You doesn't make sense. But he's already a weird guy. He's lying to this girl. He goes to her like, why did he go to her wake? Why did he go or not that? Why did he go to her hospital bed and meet that girl and then lie? Like,
Right.
she didn't like men. Like, dude, idiot. Yeah, I don't know. He seemed like he was already a weirdo. So maybe that's why he got picked, because jumping out the window dressed as a woman. I'm assuming he must have picked
I think there's some
personified her.
sexual repression happening. Maybe he was that way before he moved in. He's obviously a very isolated kind of person. Like he insulates himself from the rest of the building kind of, and he's just constantly being pestered by them. The only person he tries to befriend is Isabella Johnny, and I'm sure we could all see why he did that.
Well, he also had that other friend, that douchebag guy that's like, I do whatever I want.
Just turns the radio up as loud as He
Born
only
in
went to that
New-
guy's place once though, and he was
Yeah.
like, "No, fuck that guy."
But still, he was part of that friend group. But the dude also had confrontational problems. I get it. 1 a.m. he's in an apartment building. But it only happens every now and often, and every now and then. Just shut the hell up and go to sleep, old man.
Yeah.
But threatening someone like that, be like, you will turn this down in his face.
His neighbors are so invasive.
Mhm.
I could see why you would want to jump out the window.
I could see that, but not the whole dressed as a woman part. Because he obviously, it was straight because he really was infatuated with that girl that he followed.
Maybe he wasn't. Maybe that's just his own cover in his own mind.
Maybe you're right. Again, I said, now that I've watched the Darren Aronofsky, I don't trust anything. So all that, but it was an interesting movie. Definitely didn't like it. Interesting in not a great way. I figured that was him when I looked at it, the acting list, and yeah, it was terrible. Nothing about this movie screamed good to me. I'll never watch it again. I regret
sure.
renting it for $3.79.
2 thumbs. What the hell? I gave you my Amazon account. You could have watched it for free.
I really just didn't want to deal with that because I guarantee you it was no. Check it out. Amazon is so crazy. I guarantee I would have logged in. It would have said, "Hey, this was sent to your email, to your thing." Then I got to text you for that. You got to text it back to me. I got to put it in. I'm just gonna pay the $3.79 out of convenience, even though I do regret it now.
The show.
Yeah,
I
the
don't know.
convenience.
That sounds cheaper than $3.79 to me, but that's fine.
It is cheaper, but not in convenience. Not in convenience terms. That's why you pay $7 for a gallon of milk at 7-Eleven instead of $3.50 at Walmart.
The real kicker to me is that I bought it on Amazon Prime for $20 just so you and I could watch it.
Well, if you would have worded it that way, I'd have been like, hell yeah. I
literally sent you the password and shit. I was like, I own it on there. You can watch it.
I figured you just owned it. You own so many
I don't buy movies
I
digitally.
figured this was in your repertoire of just like, oh, I got like a code with it or some shit, you know?
So when I read what the movie was about, I did not want to buy it physically. So I just bought it digitally to help you and I out because I know we were both going to have to pay like $3-4 to watch it. So I was like, fuck it, for 20, we can both just watch it at separate times so you could get through it. But yeah,
that's my bad.
Maybe I should have said that. But either way, I was just like, here it is for you on a platter.
That's my bad.
Anyway, Bont,
How could you?
How did it rub you?
I don't hate this movie as much as everyone else. I think there are some interesting themes in it. I like how it ends where it begins. There's kind of like a doomed cycle sort of thing going on, where he ends up in the same position as Simone Schul, and I mean, I don't know why, but I just love that line. They're trying to make me Simone Schul. I am not Simone Schul. Like, I don't know, that shit fucking gets me. But yeah, and I mean, I'll watch this movie over again because I love Isabella Johnny, and I'll watch her with those little cut glasses.
Yummy.
I don't hate this movie, but I just was left feeling disappointed. Like, I read what it was about and I was like, oh, okay, maybe it'll be, a lot more trippy than it was. And it ended up being more just kind of like throwaway-ish to me, like probably because of Polanski playing the role himself. But
that definitely takes a lot of it out, him being the lead actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting sometimes.
Yeah, it's got its moments, and like there are things about it that kind of I found interesting here and there, like some of the dialogue between the neighbors and just the way the events roll out are kind of interesting. But overall, just me personally, I don't think I'd watch it again. I'd say that's
trying to get him to conform to their kind of way of living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty odd.
His character actually in this, it kind of reminded me when I was watching it of Charlito Copley when he was what he said.
African, so I'm just like, yo, Charto.
What he said in District 9. Like how he plays Vickis Vandermeer, like the kind of awkward, like weird type of style.
The greatest delivery of the word fuck of all time. Dude.
What delivery is that? What scene is that?
Anytime Vickis says fuck in that movie is amazing.
Yeah, like when he gets the shit in his face, he goes, fuck!
Fucking, oh!
I'm the sweetie man.
Amazing.
It's the sweetie man.
Amazing use of a 4-letter word in that movie.
That is fucking hilarious. That's awesome. All right. Moving on to The Pianist, came out in 2002, written by Ronald Harwood, cinematography by Powell Edelman. This one hit hard for sure. I hadn't seen this one. Tenet and The Pianist were the two movies I hadn't seen on this list, and The Pianist got me. It got me good.
Tough watch.
Goddamn, yeah. Like, just I really didn't expect the shit that it was going to throw at me. Like, based on the title, you're kind of, if you hadn't looked anything up about it, and you're just like, oh, a movie about a pianist. So how's this going to go? Holy shit, I didn't expect it to go this way.
Psych Holocaust.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. So, Danny boy.
Yeah, this movie's a real bummer, man. It is a real bummer. you just, you feel like sometimes this is a repetitive theme in a movie to use, the Holocaust as either a background or a focal point. And some of them really do get their point across. Your Schindler's List. The one recently, The Zone of Interest. That one was a really good one too. This one really, I don't think I'd seen this one. So yeah, it was a lot more than I expected. I think it got to a point where, Brandon and I were watching it, and it was like every other scene when they were just kind of walking down the street, there's just a dead body. And to think and to realize that that was, real life is appalling. It's crazy. It's really kind of puts things in perspective for you. I felt bad for Adrian Brody's character the entire fucking movie. I just felt like that guy was trying so hard to either better himself or get to a better situation. He was constantly moving around, and obviously it ends up pretty shitty for him in the end, losing his family and everything. So and then yeah, the iconic scene at the end of him pretending to play that song on the piano is pretty moving, pretty touching. So yeah, this is another one of his really, really good ones. I might like this one a little bit more than Chinatown, but they're pretty equal in my eyes. But this one is definitely more of a downer versus Chinatown, that's for sure.
That's definitely an understatement, I'd say. That's just,
Yeah.
goddamn, it's just fucked. What a fucked up movie. Rex?
Yeah, I don't like this movie. I don't, not because it's a bad movie. I just hate all these types of movies because they're so damn sad. Like The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, that one
Mhm.
killed me. Schindler's List, all those other ones. In a movie like this, like, it's just such a terrible thing. And Adrian Brody kills it though. He's great at conveying emotion. Like, this guy just comes out of nowhere for me. So many of his movies I love, but this one, like when he tries to help pull the little boy out, and
Fuck.
dude, holy
Mhm.
shit! And then how he just kind of leaves him there and walks off. Dude, that just fucked me up watching that part. And not only that, just like him, quote unquote, being saved from getting on that train. Like, he
Mhm.
was saved, but I mean, was he?
Right.
He
He
lost
wasn't on a
everyone
train to
he loved.
Auschwitz.
But I mean, he like lost everything, the last things he loved, which was his family. He
Yeah.
lost all his possessions, everything he had, and he got
It's-
saved at the last second, but he just watched his entire life that he had left go on a train.
Well, see, and that's the real fucked up thing is he's saved by Jews that were helping the Nazis.
Yes,
Right.
that
They're
whole
being like the
movie.
police force.
The whole movie is them, and it's like, dude, I don't like this movie.
It was rough.
But
Rough.
and then also it would kind of, the ending was kind of even more of a trip and like really spoke to his character, who he was, because he did go back to look for that general that saved his life, that Nazi general
That spared him, yeah. Just
that
wanted to hear
spared
one
him.
piano song.
And it
Willem.
was Willem. Yeah, it was just like, damn, that's crazy, especially after everything they did to you. Even that one act of kindness for you, kind of. Yeah,
I like
don't
that
know.
part too, but the part about that pisses me off is I don't know how genuine that motherfucker was, because it's like, was he doing it just so in the instance that he survives this whole thing that he can vouch that he tried to help him? Because that's the way he acted when that kind of came to fruition, So it's like, I don't know. Part
Yeah,
kinda
I
rubs me the
mean,
wrong
people
way.
try to say that like there are just Nazi soldiers in that time period that were just drafted,
Mhm.
and that is true. But that guy is far enough along in the program, where it's like, no, he definitely believes in what he's sipping the tea, with everybody
Mhm.
else. He's not just a conscripted soldier, like.
Yeah, but in that time, it was either sip the tea or you're right there with him.
True.
And
Hey, you
like,
ain't wrong. You ain't
people,
lying.
people are prone to choosing the latter rather than dying most of the time. So you might be right, but at this, he could have been a general before this all came to light. And, it's like, you got to follow it. You don't really have a choice, or else you're going to do what they're doing to everybody else. Not that I condone what he did. Not at all. Like, he probably did in part at the
No, it's a
end use
complicated
that.
part of the movie for sure.
Yeah, but I don't think he initially did that because he could have listened to the piano and shot him in the head. Because what could a pianist really say? One person can't forgive everything else you've done. So I don't think he initially did it, but at the end, I think he did try to use it as a way out.
He was moved by the piano.
I'm sure
Mhm.
he went on to be hired by the United States government for some kind of job, but
No, it
Yeah.
tells
Nah,
you
he's
at the
not
end
a
of the movie. It
scientist.
says he like died in prison in a POW camp or something.
I was just being a dick.
Oh.
I was just talking shit about our country.
Hey, I'm all for that.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Bont? I mean, what is?
I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hard watch, but I definitely think this is his most dynamically shot movie. I mentioned it earlier, you know, just those scenes where you're watching battles from the apartment window or just watching chaos unfold in the streets. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a battle. A guy being thrown from his fucking balcony in a wheelchair and then being run
Oh my
over.
god, dude, that blew my mind.
Oh my god, I completely forgot about that.
Things that are never on your list to see in a movie, even of that
Oh,
caliber.
man.
That's one of them.
And that's one of the most powerful things about that movie is like the it's like shockingly real. You watch that shit and you're like, yeah, I believe that the Nazis did that to some motherfucker, you know? Like I could totally buy that. And I do love, you know, his journey. You know, it's kind of a chase film in a way where he's like constantly on the run. He's like moving from location to location. You know, he's never in one place long. And every time he's actually settled and he's like doing things around Nazis and like he just fucks up in the most minor way and you're like deep breath.
Here we go again.
You know,
Tense.
like it said, I
Yep.
think that says something to the quality of the filmmaking, you know, and obviously like the history, you know, the history there. So it
Right.
plays into that tension. But I think it's a masterful work. Not a movie I revisit often, but I have seen it more than once because I do find it rewarding at the end. You know, it's a story of perseverance and survival and courage. You know, he loses everything, but he doesn't lose that spirit of survival. He's gonna make it through this no matter what, and he does.
Yep.
Does he though?
Amen,
I
brother.
mean, maybe not in his brain. He might be cuckoo, but
I mean, it's based on a real dude. He definitely made
Yeah,
it through
yeah.
it, you know. But
yeah,
No,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, I meant the mental thing.
yeah,
Like you made it through, but
at what cost?
yeah, like are you
His family.
it was definitely a powerful movie. I mean, the one scene that stands out to me, and I mean, there's a bunch of them, but the one that's been stuck with me since I just watched it was that scene where they're tapping. Everyone's lined up in a row and they're tapping the every other one basically, and then they all lay down and then they're just shooting them one by one, and the clip runs out on the very last old
Slowly
man,
reloads.
and he's slow. Yeah, that was a fucked up scene, and
Yeah.
you know the whole movie's fucked up, but I did enjoy the part with Willem the most. I thought that was the most like interesting part of the film because he's playing the piano in the destroyed ruins of that house, and he brings him the food and the books and all that other shit, and then he finally gives him his coat at the end, which then led to that scene where they weren't sure if they could trust him right before or right after everything went down. They're like, "Oh, fucking Nazi," and he's like, "I'm just cold," like I don't know. The
Yeah,
whole
he almost got taken
Yeah.
out, dude. He almost got taken out right there.
But it is a fantastic movie. It's got to be one of Polanski's best for sure. Again, I think for the 5 movies we picked, for me, it's really difficult to choose because the 4 out of 5 were pretty aces, honestly, even though I hate to give this motherfucker that credit. This piece of shit. He's the Logan Paul of movies right now. I hate to admit that he's good at what he does, but yeah, I mean, fuck. The Pianist is one I recommend a lot of people. If you like Schindler's List, and you like that history and you kind of want to feel it, I'd watch
You'll
that
feel
one.
something.
Yeah, you'll. I mean, everything. You'll be mad. You'll fucking be upset, and it's a good film.
I
That moves
recommend
us
these to no
on.
one.
Yeah.
To no one. I don't like watching these movies.
I get that they're rough to watch. But they're important too. It's important that people know that this type of shit can happen again, and
It's important, but
could be
Time to talk
happening
about
again.
Danny's favorite, Jodie
oh,
Foster.
yeah.
All right, so Carnage 2011, written by Yasmin Reza. It's a screenplay adapted from a play, and it's got the same cinematographer as The Pianist, actually, the Poel Edelman. I personally really love this movie. I like movies like this where it shows just four badass actors, together in one room and just fucking having it out. I think this movie is killer, but that's just me, Danny Boy. I know what you got loaded. Maybe I'm not prepared for it.
Virginia?
I don't know. No.
Well,
But
first
based on
things
Brandon's
first,
build-up.
I fucking hate
No,
Jodie
he just hates
Foster.
Jodie
Y'all
Foster.
know
Yeah.
that. Y'all know that.
You're secret
And
Jodie lover.
seeing her in this movie just gave me even more fuel to hate her. And her character Penelope Longstreet, who is just like the ultimate Karen, helicopter hover over my kid parent. Totally blowing stuff out of proportion. Taking something that
He lost an incisor.
Well, the best part about the movie is that you see the action of what they're arguing about in the
An
beginning,
incisor, yeah.
and it's some bullshit, dude. Like,
Assaulted.
let's be honest, man. The kid's kind of a pussy. Like,
I
yeah,
mean, kids will be boys will be boys for sure.
Yeah, and so obviously he gets his teeth knocked out, and so the parents come over to somewhat try to have this civilized conversation, and you already know when they come in, you're like, dude, this is gonna fucking escalate. I don't know how, but it's going to. And of course,
Well, it
she
is
kind
called
of just
Carnage.
goes right. She just goes right into it, and
Oh.
it's a tension
Oh,
filled.
no.
Uncomfortable, but the whole situation is just high anxiety. Like, it's high anxiety, you're uncomfortable, you feel like, I felt like I was sitting in that room the entire time just watching this whole thing just unload in front of me, and I
Fuck yeah.
sympathize so much with John C. Reilly's character. I feel like that would be me as a parent, trying to
That's
keep my
me,
cool
dude.
the
Yeah.
whole time. And oddly enough, bless my mother, but her calling as many times as she did kind of reminds me of what she would do too in a certain situation. So that kind of made me laugh a little bit. But he just gets to a breaking point where it's like, all right, you know what? I usually don't do this because I usually, use this to calm myself down. But time for some scotch, let me light up a stogie really quick. Like, so funny. Kate Winslet's really good in this too, because she's kind of a little, secluded at first, doesn't seem very aggressive, and she kind of builds up to it, and then she goes through her whole episode of either the cobbler or whatever makes her
Yeah,
sick,
she
and
builds up all right.
yeah. And then you've got Christoph Waltz, who's kind of just minding his own, just seems to be more worried about his work than he is this whole situation, which I think is kind of funny. And the whole scene with her throwing his phone in the fucking vase made me laugh, because it's like, how many times has a spouse wanted to do that to their other spouse for being on the phone all the time or whatever. But it was an okay movie. It just, you can obviously tell this was play adaptation, just being in one setting, which was kind of cool. And I know that you'd like that a lot, practical, and that's fine and everything. But Jodie Foster, man, she gets under my skin, and for her to play a character like this, like,
I love it. I fucking love it.
10 out of 10.
the worst.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely
Hell
the
yeah.
worst. But yeah, the movie was pretty good. I enjoyed it, except for her.
All right. This movie reminded me of my days when I would do drugs, and I would always carry a water bottle with me, and I would squeeze the shit out of that water bottle, because that was like my thing that kept me down to earth. But it was like my anxiety thing I would squeeze, and that was what this movie made me feel like. I was holding that water bottle again the whole time, just like trying to keep my fucking grasp on what's going on. And because this is just all anxiety and all just awkward, forceful, weird shit. Like, they're trying to leave, but then all of a sudden, I got coffee, you got espresso. All right, we're going to come back in. We go outside. Someone complained about something. All right, we're going to come back in. And it just keeps going and building. But it's like neither one of them really want to leave. or they want them to leave, but they want them to stay to solve something that they can't solve because they themselves are just children.
Right.
John C. Reilly's character is great. He's amazing. Love that guy. He's like, "Do you see me? I was about to go off." He's like, when he's talking about that medicine and all that, all that, and I love that he pulls out the scotch, and even though he fucking hates everything, he's offering everybody pretty much scotch. He's having kind of a good time. And Christoph Waltz, I love his character because he plays like a lawyer. He's never very direct, and he's always letting you lead it on. And he says, "Really?" And he goes, "Oh, am I?" And he's not super direct. He's very basic, like how you are when you're a lawyer or something. You don't ever admit to anything. You don't ever place yourself in any type of blame situation. You always try to turn it around on them. And that's how he talks about it the whole time to his wife, who's Kate Winslet. Great job also. Yeah, this movie fucking was for an hour and 15 minutes. Yeah, it was like that one of those things that makes you pull your hair out because it's the four types of people in that room was just a perfect storm of fucking anxiety and just uneasiness. And the peach cobbler, I cannot get it. He's like, that peach cobbler was terrible.
It was an apple and pear.
It was apple and pear. He's like, that cobbler was terrible. She's like, but you were eating it.
You were because it's normal, but that was apple and pear.
It's her secret.
Yeah, her secret piece of shit.
Yeah, so and he's just eating it all crazy like he loves it, and then he tells her later, "Yeah, it was terrible." Like, who the fuck
Dude,
are
it sounds
you?
bomb actually, and it looked pretty good. I don't know.
It was cold. That was the whole problem. Someone put it in the fridge.
Have cold cobbler.
Yeah, you can't have that
in the microwave, dude. Give me some a la mode. Cut.
I love that Kate Winslet puked all over her shit.
That's
was
awesome.
the magazine that she's all pissed about.
Oh, the art thing. I loved
I can't remember the name of the
it.
magazine.
It's not in print anymore. Jodie Foster. God.
Yeah, I mean, I think the dialogue in this movie is really snappy and it keeps you engaged the entire time. All four actors involved do a great job, but yeah, I mean, I just think it's okay. It's not something that it's funny. It's just it's quick. And I don't know, it's not this is my nightmare scenario. This is maybe why I don't ever want to have kids. It's and that's maybe why this movie is only okay to me, is because I watch this and I'm yeah, no. I don't ever want to have to interact with another set of parents and talk to them about my son whooping their son's ass or vice versa. Because I'm just going to be John C. Reilly. And I'm not going to be John C. Reilly an hour into the movie. I'm going to be John C. Reilly an hour into the movie, but at the beginning of the movie. I'm like, let's start drinking now. Because it's going to get awkward anyway. We might as well be drunk,
Hash it out.
All that being said, I kind of like the way that it ends, where you see, because one of the big sticking points of the movie, especially for Kate Winslet, is her calling John C. Reilly a murderer over the fucking gerbil or the hamster.
Oh my god!
I don't know what to do with it. It's I just put it outside.
I can't touch those things. I can't.
It's what the fuck, dude? But you see the gerbil at the end, and then the boys who started off by fighting by natural progression of young boys, you get into a fight, you're gonna be friends with that kid 2 weeks later. It's just gonna happen.
That's how you just iron out the details in the fight. That's all.
Well, that's what makes that movie so great, is there's always that person, and it's obviously fucking Jodie Foster in this movie that brings this situation to where it's at. It's the lawyer and Kate Winslet wouldn't have given a single fuck, I'm sure, but Jodie Foster had to make this big fucking deal, and then obviously everyone gets ropes into this situation. But yeah,
that helicopter parent, like Danny said.
Yeah,
oh dude,
I personally think this movie is fucking great. Honestly, I love the acting in it. I love all four of them. I'm a lifelong Jodie Foster fan. I've loved her for ever, dude. I think she's a fantastic actress. But more importantly, I love Kate Winslet too. I'm also a big fan of hers. I think she shows a lot of range and she's really good. And I love her in this movie in particular. but I'd say John C. Reilly to me is the standout. I mean, Christoph Waltz is good too, but John C. Reilly I think is us. We're the viewer. Like we're just like fuck. We're along for the ride here. We don't really want to be in this situation. We're trying to be as nice as fucking possible, but there's only so much shit you're gonna take in this situation, and there are so many things that lead to the way things are just, you know, presented to us as the viewer. We go from the cobbler to her throwing up because of the cobbler, then she gets frustrated and throws his phone in the vase, and like then the lawyer starts talking shit to John C. Reilly about his profession, and it's just such a spiral, you know, and it's so
Hey,
funny.
He sells doorknobs, bro.
Yeah,
Dude,
like
he sells Tupperware.
Yeah,
and I
Or
think for
houseware.
me,
all kinds of shit.
I love that it's short. I love that it's short because it's like it gets to the point. It takes you for this fucking crazy ride. I think Carnage is like one of the most fucking perfect titles for a movie like this ever. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of this. Take 4 extremely talented actors and actresses all together because they are all 4 of them are. They're all in great things. They're all great in things. You can say that about Jodie Foster, Danny, but if you don't like Silence of the Lambs, that you're wild.
I never said that, but have you ever seen Nell? Shake me in the wind.
Shit, pay in the wing. Again, Liam Neeson has sex with a mentally challenged girl.
Like, yeah,
Damn, sounds
great
like
movie.
That's Nell, baby.
it does not sound like
That-
something I'm probably gonna watch. But
That is definitely not something I'm gonna watch. Like you can't just say that and just chalk it up to that's Nell.
Maybe I'll just put myself through torture when it comes back to my picks. I'll just pick 5 Jodie Foster movies.
Contact,
My
Nell.
worst nightmare. Panic
What
Room.
were some of her other?
God. Contact is about the only movie you could choose with her in it, besides maybe Nell. Now that you brought that up, that
I'll watch either one of those. Yeah, Contact or Nell for sure. But
No,
dude,
Nell's got
or
Liam
Silence of
Neeson in
the
it.
yeah.
No, I don't want to see
But
that.
dude, like when we
My
when
name
we
is
did-
Liam
when we
Neeson,
did,
and I'm
uh,
gonna have
when
to
we did-
fuck this mentally challenged woman.
when we did Blumquist or Blumkin, whatever his name is, Blumquist. The Elysium, dude.
It's Neil
Elysium.
Bumpkins.
Bumpkins, yeah, sure.
Neil
Dude,
Blomkamp.
Elysium. Oh my god, I hated her in that movie.
Yeah,
I
but that
just
movie
hated
is
her.
sick.
You're
That
supposed to
movie
hate
is
her in that
sick.
movie. She's purposely playing a complete cunt. That's the point.
That's like Carnage. You're supposed to
Yeah,
not
you're
like this
supposed to
woman
hate her.
unless you're a Karen. Unless
That
you're
means
sitting
she's
there like
doing her
she's
thing.
I
right.
just think she's a
Well,
good
Mr.
actress,
Polanski-
honestly.
She's right.
Yeah.
Mr. Polanski, bravo. All right, you pissed me off
This is
even more.
to me. This is just like the Tom Cruise thing. He's also awesome, but you hate him too for no reason.
God, dude. Don't even-
And Tom Hanks. He just hates all these guys.
Yeah,
My
motherfucker.
brother. I
Stop
mentioned
touching
Tom
kids.
Hanks and the pedo thing, and he's like, are you like Danny? Are you on this whole non-proven thing on Tom Hanks? And I was like, whoa. I was like, dude, I didn't know you like Tom
Hey,
Hanks
man,
that much.
one day it's gonna happen, and the truth will set you free.
Don't tell my brother that because he got a little hurt when I said that. Like, I didn't know he liked Tom Hanks that much.
No, I think it's more along the lines of you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, and Danny's over here judge, jury, and execution all over Tom Hanks.
I'll tell you what, man. If Johnny Cochran was still alive, I would hire him in a heartbeat. No pun intended. Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible.
Oh, well. Normally this is the part where we talk about impact and legacy, but you know
I
what?
don't want to talk about that
Fuck
with him.
this guy. I'm not going to give him
Roman
that.
His
Polanski.
impact and legacy is that he raped a 13-year-old woman and fled punishment.
Exactly.
That will forever
Fled
be his legacy.
the country.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bypass that and
And his
say fuck
ex-wife
Roman
got murdered.
Polanski one more time. And we'll talk about what we're going to talk about next episode, which is Coheed and Cambria.
Oh yeah, dude. Get you
Oh,
some
yeah.
Claudio.
Yeah, one of the greatest singers.
Brandon, I know you don't like to do music, but are you going to join us for that one?
I do like Coheed and Cambria, so
Oh,
might.
that's good to
That
know.
could be a maybe.
Hmm.
We love your
Mystery.
input, seeing as you're
Little-
one of the reasons I picked them. So
well, in that case.
Okay, I guess
you
now
next
that
week.
you
gaslit.
guilt trip.
Hell yeah.
Gaslighting ass mother.
Got him.
Dude.
All right. Well, fellas, this has been Roman Polanski, unfortunately, in some regards. And we will catch you
No,
next
but great
week.
pick, Rex, because he is an institution, I guess.
He's got
Unfortunately,
his ups and his really low downs.
He's
Pussy.
he's in the realm of film. You can't not talk about him. It's just unfortunate that he's a motherfucker. That's all.
true that.
Unfortunate
Motherfucker
that.
Jones.
Hell yeah. This is your boy Practical.
Danny boy.
Rex.
And hey, this is Brandon. Everyone have a great week.
Hell yeah.
Get weak.
Do you guys ever wonder, like, what's it like to be married to Alex Jones? Like, if he has sex, she's like, yeah, I really like that in that position right there.
I don't think he's gonna.
Oh, yeah,
that.
you're hearing about the aliens and the ranch, you know? Sorry, I'm getting
I
a
think
little
that
hot
guy
here.
is so juiced on TRT he can't even get hard.
Oh, dude, I love
yeah.
hearing him talk, though. He's just crazy. He's like, oh, yeah, West Vegas.
He's on this cocktail of like TRT and fucking what is it? Fucking Ozempic. Ozempic Jones should be his name.
Hell yeah.
Ozempic Jones. Hell
Have
yeah.
you seen that guy? Like, come on, he's got the
Dude,
sunken
he's-
eyes and everything.
He looks kind of wild.
Jones, no kids at Sandy Hook died. I'm gonna fucking call that a false flag because I'm a wild piece of shit.
Damn, that one was good too.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that was us.
We'll catch you
This
next
is Alex
week.
Jones, and this is between the credits and quarantine. You check out them owls, they be fucking at night, I swear. I hear them in my
Jesus.
tree.
God.
Grove. Ozempic.